Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chuck's Potpourri, the podcast with a dash of everything and a splash of nothing. Yoga fans, have we got an episode for you today? So, joining me is Miss Evelyn Spangler.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Good, good. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
We really appreciate it. Do you want to tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and maybe your family, interests, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Evelyn Spangler. I grew up in Topeka. Went to school at Charlie. Graduated from Hayden 2004. Now I'm married Michael Spangler, which we accidentally went opposite paths. I was in the Shawnee Heights School District and then went to Hayden. And then he was in the Catholic school system and went to Shawnee Heights. So if one of us hadn't switched up, we would have gone to school together, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, now we have two kids, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and 2 dogs, huskies, and I'm obsessed with all of them, my husband, my kids, and my dogs.
Yeah.
That's a little bit about me. My interests are health and wellness. I mean, obviously, that probably goes without saying, but, like a lot of people, it did kind of take me a little bit longer than I maybe would have preferred to kind of figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm glad that I did, nonetheless. I went to Emporia. Well, I played basketball for a couple years in college at Sterling University. Sorry. And I tore my medial meniscus my sophomore year, and I probably could have kept playing, but I kind of did what I wanted to do, which was play basketball in college.
Right.
And say that I got to play basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was like a super small college, but I still got to do that. And then I was trying to, have logical next steps. So I was like, okay, I'm obviously not going to play my whole life.
Right,
I need to, focus on school. So I went to Emporia, graduated from Emporia in 2008 with a psychology degree and a minor in art. And at that time, thought I was going to be a psychologist, clinical psychologist. I got into a master's program at Washburn University. And I really didn't like it. Yeah. I really didn't. And I don't know, just like so many young 20-somethings, I was like going through a lot of personal growth and wasn't maybe as attentive of a student as it could have been, but I also wasn't digging it either. Yeah. So I feel like it was, not for me. But then I left and pursued some education toward nursing. I was a nurse for a while, a CMA. So just to be clear, I don't want to claim a title, but certified medical assistant. And I worked at Stormont Vale for a long time. Was I guess not super long, but 4 or 5 years, and checked in patients, and they help you further your education and skill set. So I learned a bunch of other things to help people, and really liked it. Really do like the medical field and learning about anatomy and that kind of thing. But then when Charles, my son, was born, I decided to stay home and do that. And I was already teaching on the side yoga. So that was more just for my sanity. It wasn't obviously going to make us any money or anything, but it was just something I liked to do. And got me to feel like I did something outside of the house other than just laundry and stuff, which I'm glad I would do that again. I would, I'm glad I got to do that. So I'm not complaining, but, it worked out well, because then I realized I was super passionate about it. And I kept getting my yoga education and doing more and more and getting more and more excited. And I still get really excited and can nerd out with you about it at a moment's notice. And it was a combination of my nursing education and my yoga stuff that helped me realize I do like helping people, but I really like mobility and learning how to help a body move, no matter what age or what ails you or whatever. There are ways, and we can work with that. And so I have my 200-hour basic yoga certification, and I have a 500-hour. I'm a yoga therapist.
Nice.
From Breathing Deeply. It's a school out of New York, and I was supposed to be able to go there to New York, but then in 2020 we couldn't
Oh,
go.
yeah.
And so,
Didn't go anywhere.
right. And honestly, I mean, I didn't really mind not going there.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna have to be there for like 2 weeks, and at that I had Ivadel, my second kid, and I didn't. I mean, I am very passionate. I stand by what I said about learning, but like I said, I love my kids, and I want to be there. So I was like, oh darn, okay, well I'll see you on Zoom.
Yeah.
And so anyway, yoga therapist, and then I have a 300-hour that allows me to teach teachers, and so we do yoga teacher trainings at our studio now as well.
Perfect.
And so we actually just started a new round of students last weekend.
Awesome.
yeah.
That's amazing.
So that was kind of long. I hope that wasn't too
No, you're good. That's a great introduction. So that's just a precursor to the rest of the episode.
Sorry, I told you I
yeah.
can get real nerdy.
There's someone too who figured out what they were doing, a little bit later. I can totally relate to that. Everyone learns at their own pace. So now's your time to start. If you are thinking about doing something, don't be scared.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll jump into the quick bit section, which is the sports and tech news that I have found worthy. Kind of. So last episode was a lot about sports, so we covered a lot of the Chiefs stuff, the Royals, how much they stink, some KU stuff, K-State, a couple things like that. So bigger news in the sports world right now, as recording this episode, NBA Finals about to start up. So the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets will be playing in that. One of these days, I'm hoping Kansas City gets an NBA team,
Right.
which would be really awesome.
That would be.
So, but until then, I don't have a dog in the race, just kind of watching to watch them. So it should be an interesting matchup. Nuggets being one of the top seeds and the Heat being a low seed. So it shows you kind of like how March Madness is. Just you never know who's gonna win. So interested to see how that goes. Sports in general here for a disc golf. I know I got a lot of disc golf fans out there. I'm a big disc golf fan. I don't know if you've ever played or watched
I've only
any
done
disc
it a
golf.
couple of times, and it is really fun.
It
I can
is.
see why people get into it, but I haven't. I can't claim the sport.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've got a couple buddies that'll be doing a disc golf episode in the near future, so be on the lookout for that. But in that, Dynamic Discs down in Emporia, Kansas, will be having their Dynamic Discs Open in June. It is a great event. I've gone the past 2 years, and to see the pros play, it's quite an eye-opener from being a recreational player to watching them.
I have watched a professional game. It's really impressive.
They throw those discs.
Just don't get in the way of
far.
those.
Yeah. We stand very far off to the side because we know how, the wind can affect them and an errant throw here and there, and you don't want to get hit by one of those coming out of their arms, 70 miles an hour.
No,
So
yeah, that'd be an expensive ER visit.
yeah. So that's a little bit of the disc golf thing. If you get a chance to go down to Emporia to watch that, you won't be disappointed. Like I said, they're a lot of fun. The pros take time out of their schedule to sign autographs. They generally have a block party in downtown Emporia. They block off the whole,
Oh, wow.
I think it's Commercial Street down there.
Yes.
And it's just amazing. There's just vendors, there's food, there's music going on. You get to interact with the players, talk to them.
That's cool. And this is when?
In June 15th, around that time frame.
Okay.
So I'll be just getting back from DC at that point. So I don't know if the wife will let me go.
Yeah.
two vacations in a row, she probably won't go for it. But yeah, so that's the sports I got for this week. The tech side, still a lot of AI talk. I don't know if you've heard a lot about these chat GPTs and stuff like that.
My husband, he's a librarian, and so they've had extensive talks about it at school and like how do we mitigate this sort of thing.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
How far it's evolved in the short
Really is.
frame it's been in. So
And there was a daily, I don't know, I do love listening to podcasts, and the daily podcast It's been a while ago, but it was super interesting. I'm terrible at names, so that doesn't help. But there, Michael Barbaro had interviewed somebody who kind of pushed the AI to its limits, and the responses he got were unsettling, to say the least.
It is very crazy stuff, and it's, all those talk about AI is coming. It's here now.
Yeah.
So there's so much that go into it. It is scary, but it's also really helpful at the same time.
It is.
So we'll always keep our eyes on it. Some of that AI stuff, some of it's kind of funny, like some of these pictures that they can create.
Funny, yeah.
One of my friends sent me the other day, completely AI generated. It is Frank Sinatra's voice singing Lil Jon's Get Low.
I heard that.
And I'm just like, wow, it's
also kind of good though.
Yeah.
Like I would listen to it on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy what's transpired from all this, but like I said, we'll see what happens.
Especially in collaboration with virtual reality. Have you played any of those kind of games?
I have.
My nephew has one of those, and he insisted we play The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like crazy cool. Like you could look up and there was like weather patterns above you. And so I was like, what? This is insane.
Yes, technology has come a long way.
Yeah.
Back when we were kids playing the NES. So these kids today have everything.
A Game Boy, you couldn't play at night because it was just black and white.
You had to get a flashlight to hold it on there. So, okay. So we will jump into topic number 1. You kind of answered this a little bit. So this one might be one to give a little more in depth. So what really made you get into that yoga field? I know you said you like the mobility part of it, and it's something you had followed for a little while. What was the deciding factor?
It honestly it made me feel better. I, as mentioned, played a lot of basketball from a really young age, and really got into weightlifting in middle school. Which I know a lot of people probably, not a lot of people, but like people who know me, that sounded really full of myself. So many people know, but like people that know me know I played a lot of basketball. But probably not as many people know that I got into weightlifting in a really big way, because it's sort of just like my me time. I didn't get into it competitively or anything, but I was kind of doing a lot of high intensity things with my joints, and honestly, I kept growing, not a lot, but even into college, like I got a little taller. And, and so, and when you're growing like that and you compress your joints regularly or have high impact things regularly, it's just like kind of asking for joint discomfort. And, and I sure did have that. And I have scoliosis because I grew so fast, especially like in middle school and stuff. And so, of course, people are like, you really should try yoga. And I did try it at, was it Maximus at the time?
Oh, yeah.
And it was, the teacher was great. She was lovely. And honestly, I was the youngest person in the room. And they were all so bendy. And it hurt.
Yeah.
And it hurt me. And I didn't like it. And again, the teacher was wonderful.
Right.
I would make a point never to trash talk another yoga teacher. And she was very welcoming. And it just wasn't the style of yoga that suited what I needed in my body. And likely those other practitioners have been doing it a long time. But anyway, so I kind of started from a place where I was like, no, yeah, people say you should do it, and that was terrible.
Right.
So, but then, I don't know, like I just kept feeling discomfort in my back and my knees, especially after I tore my medial meniscus. And I, at some point, just had to do something less impactful.
Right.
And so Netflix had some, honestly, like, Netflix had some workout videos on their streaming service, and they had a bunch of yoga videos. And I was like, whatever, I'm just going to try it. I was living with my roommate and her then fiance, and my roommate from college, to be clear. And then she had moved to Topeka and got a house, and they let me, rent a room from them. And I was the first one home Yeah, usually most days. And so I was like, whatever, I'll do some yoga in the living room. And after some time, I felt so much better.
Yeah.
I felt so much better. My hips and my back, it just really did feel better. And I was like,
Nice.
damn, sorry, I don't know.
No, you can say anything you
But I
want.
was like, damn, this does work. Dang, like I should have really kept trying after that first class that hurt. And so,
Right.
and so then I kept doing it after that, and I still lift weights and like all different types of movement and modality. So and it's funny, people feel like often they need to announce to me their opinion on yoga when they find out I'm a yoga teacher or studio owner. Like, well, I haven't done yoga. I'm like, that's okay. You don't. This isn't like a yoga confession. You don't need to tell me if
Right.
you do it or don't do it. I believe that everyone should move on purpose.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
that's kind of my big theme at our studio. Was like we do postures intentionally, we do meditation intentionally, and make it being intentional a part of your life, a part of your movement, a part of your eating. So anyway, when I kept being intentional about my yoga practice, it felt really good, and that's how I got into it.
Nice.
Sorry about my long-winded
No,
answers.
you're good. That's what we love to have
Oh, good.
is the in-depth answers. So
And then you talked about coughing before you hit start, and then now all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god. I have to cough.
now you just want
I'm
to
gonna
cough
try-
now.
now I just so I apologize if I end up having to cough.
No, you're good. You're good. So you mentioned it was when you start having those like joint issues that you started getting into yoga. So had you ever done it before, like when you were even younger? No?
No, not at all. I
Wow.
mean, it's just I wasn't as, not to be that person, because I agree with what you said. I guess before you started recording, you had mentioned you don't like calling our age group like old yet,
Yeah,
and we're
we're
not.
not- we're
We're in
not
our
old.
30s. But when we were younger, when we were kids, like it just wasn't a thing
Yeah.
people put into schools, and now it is a lot more often.
Yeah.
It's exposed,
Yeah.
and so I just didn't. And nobody ever mentioned it until it was like, in my 20s, and so I didn't know about it. I definitely didn't think it was for me either. So even if I had, I would have thought like, that's not really like big
Yeah.
girls don't do yoga.
Perfect. So yeah, we'll jump to topic number 2 now. And that is the Topeka Yoga Network that you are orchestrating. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about that? And
Yeah, it's
maybe-
possibly gonna be a long-winded answer
Oh,
again.
that's
So
fine.
that's okay.
That's what we're here for.
Because it does have sort of like a more history than it might seem. We've been a storefront. We've had a storefront for over a year now. We opened at 925 South Kansas Avenue, across the street from Cyrus, in January of 2022, right? Yep. And then I'm like checking my dates. And
Yeah.
what day is it even? But yeah, January 2022. And so we've been open a little over a year, and but we've been at Topeka Yoga Network since 2015. We were I owned this business with my mom, Mary Boland, and I always tease her because she's got a big kid job. And so, but she is the senior compliance officer at a big bank here in town. And so we opened this business together, and she had the idea of like, we opened it for corporate yoga. She said, my coworkers don't ever do anything and it's not so much correcting your posture. We're all going to have slouchy posture. The point would be that you do things that help your posture rebound better. Sure. And so she was thinking like, gosh, if I could get my coworkers to do a little more rebounding, like exercises to help them rebound and that kind of stuff, I think it would be really good. So we started doing some stuff at her bank. She doesn't own the bank, but the bank she works at. And then starting to reach out to other corporate places. And so we've been a corporate yoga business first. And so we have a lot of, like Stormont Vale is a client of ours, and the Hills Pet Company, the library, the Topeka Public Library, we do yoga here. And our whole model is that we bring the yoga to you. We've got a bunch of mats and props, and we bring it to the place, and we do the yoga there. And that kind of got to be an integral part of how we teach. And so then now actually also Norseman is someone we partner with a lot.
Awesome.
And sometimes because again, I understand how people get there, but sometimes in like the purest yoga world, we can catch, some negativity
Sure.
from teaching at a local pub.
Does anyone ever show up drunk?
Well,
Is there any stories there?
there was the first class, yeah. But so the point would be is that person, and I'm not going to say his name because I wouldn't want to call him out like that, but he absolutely did show up very drunk.
Ooh.
And a very nice guy, and admitted, well, I probably shouldn't have. Blah, blah, blah. But then he kept coming, and he would have never come to a yoga class. He would have never come to a yoga class or tried yoga at all had we not just shown up to where he felt more comfortable.
Right.
Maybe he felt too comfortable there, but he felt more comfortable there. Yeah. And anyway, he has said to us time and time again that yoga has really helped him not drink so much and be more healthy. And so he has been
That's
coming,
awesome.
and we started doing, it was probably in 2019 or late 2018 that we started doing classes with Norseman. And he keeps showing up and he keeps doing better, and he hasn't come drunk in a really, really long time, honestly. Which, I mean, I know sounds like, well, it's a pretty low bar,
Yeah,
Evelyn.
no.
But for this individual, that's a high bar.
Right.
And we base our success for people on an individual basis. Like, individually, that's what that guy needed, was for us to just show up there. And so I believe in that strongly. So does my mom. Like, we'll bring it to you if that helps you do the thing. It makes you feel more comfortable. Walking through a studio door can feel really intimidating. And I can attest to that. I remember feeling like that. So it's not just, yogis don't feel intimidated. Like, no, everybody who wants to try a new yoga class, or they've done yoga 20 years or 1 year or whatever, like, it just feels intimidating to walk into a studio and into the door. I get it.
Yeah.
And so we try and, as often as we can, bring the yoga to you. And so that's where our business started, corporate yoga. And we still work with our corporate clients. And 2020, it changed to Zoom. And so we do a lot of in-person, sorry.
Yeah, you go.
We do a lot of in-person still, but we also very much Zoom a lot. And so consequently, a lot of our classes at the studio you can show up at the studio and practice with me in the studio, or you can Zoom in from your bedroom or wherever and Zoom in from there.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's a little bit. There's more, but I also don't want to take up all your time.
So how do they, if they want to attend these courses or classes and stuff, do they just shoot you like an email or call?
We like a lot of fitness places purchase just a software.
Okay.
And so our software that we purchased was is called Wellness Living, and it's a fitness scheduling app. And that's its main thing, is they just schedule fitness classes for studios all around the United States.
Awesome.
And a big part of why we chose them is because they already had pre-COVID Zoom options, or like virtual things. And so they had been really good at it. They weren't like a lot of us scrambling to, everybody wants Zoom now, I better figure that out.
Right.
So they were already kind of good at it. So you go to our website, click book now, literally on go to the schedule and click book now on anything. It'll send you to the same place, to the Wellness Living, and it'll have you log in and get a password and all that. But then once you're there, there's tabs. There's a store tab where you can purchase a class. Everybody's first class is free. For everybody, there's a first class free pass in the store tab. And then you go to the schedule tab to see what you like, what time you want to come, and just book your class. I will say that we didn't know this, but now we've got the software, so we're working with it. But if you go to the website on your phone, Wellness Living just does not work as well unless it's through the app. So I didn't know that. So we do ask people to download the app, and most people are pretty understanding. Some people are like, "You mean you want me to get an app?" And I'm like, I don't get any money if you download the app.
Right.
So I'm not trying to.
Well, I'll try and link all that stuff in this video description.
Okay.
So, perfect. All right. Let's jump into some Chuck's trivia. This is part of the show where I'm going to ask you a trivia question. You do not have to answer it right away.
Okay.
We'll save it for the end. That way all our viewers at home can play along. So it's a yoga question.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
yeah, let's see. And like, now this is straight from Google, so I can't
Okay.
tell you the accuracy of it because, but the internet's supposed to be everything true.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean,
yeah, everything you
I
read on the
don't-
internet
yeah.
is true 100% of the time.
So, yoga's been around for a while. How far back does yoga date? Like I said, you don't have to answer it right now. We'll wait till later, but I'll let you think on that.
Some of the scripts that were written back, but yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I can,
It's
like the sutras, Patanjali's sutras were date back to 200 BCE. And so yoga itself goes like, what, 1500 BCE? Did you not want me to answer that right now?
We'll find out. We'll find out here in a little bit. Okay, so let's jump into topic number 3 here, which is, and you kind of touched on this earlier, some tips and pointers for beginners getting into yoga. So obviously number 1 is get in the door.
Find a way to do that.
Yeah. So that would probably be number 1. And then I know there's a couple different types of yoga, but I think the main 2 that I've ever been introduced to is just the traditional, like regular, I'm not sure what the...
There's a lot of different styles of yoga, yeah.
Regular yoga, and then there's hot yoga,
Yeah.
which a couple years ago, I got one of those at-home DVD kits. I can't remember what it was called.
So P90X.
But it was something like that. It wasn't exactly that. I think it was Tap Out XT
Oh,
is
nice.
what that one was. Anyway, so there was a disc in this set that was hot yoga. And so, I went through like the first couple weeks and did all the regular workouts, and I pull out this hot yoga disc. I'm like, okay, it's yoga. It's going to be easy. I'd never sweated so much in my life. It was ridiculous. It was you think you hear that word yoga and you think it's just like stretching, like you're not going to
People
do
do
much.
have this misconception.
Yes. And then I get into it and it's like that is a workout.
It is. Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit, like I said, on what
Sure.
the beginners would
Well,
need.
yeah. So beginners should find, if you are a beginner to yoga,
Mhm.
or are you a beginner to intentional movement in general,
Mhm.
right? Because if you are just like, look, somebody told me I don't work out, I don't run, my doctor told me I need to start doing yoga. That's like, I would say beginner altogether, right? And that's okay. We have a beginner class every Tuesday at 5:30 at the studio, and beginners. I mean, honestly, what makes a beginner class for us is that we make sure that you are going to walk out and say, I feel stronger and more stable. It's not going to be just easy, right? Beginner doesn't mean I'm not going to make you work a little bit.
Right,
Because
right.
that, there's so much to yoga. And in terms of the movement, the physical movement of yoga, we are trying to create a stable core and more balance and things like that. And so in a beginner class, myself and my mom were looking to make sure that transitions from pose to pose are safer than, and let me not say it like that, because our transitions from pose to pose are safe in other in power classes, basic classes, slower and more maybe props and things like that, so that you don't have to feel like, oh, now we're jumping to the front, we're jumping to the back. I'm not
Right.
going to make beginners do that.
Right.
So, maybe assess yourself, because then you have beginners who are beginners to yoga, but maybe they've been doing CrossFit for a really long time. And I'm not saying one beginner is better than the other beginner. I'm
Sure.
just saying this may be a different type.
Yeah.
You might be in a different space, and that's
Yep.
okay. It's important to recognize that so you get the most out of your class. And
Right.
that's the only reason why you'd want to, it's not to judge yourself one way or the other, but
Right.
just so you get the most out of what you're doing.
Yep.
And anyway, so if you're that person who's like, well, I do a lot of stuff, intentional movement, CrossFit, whatever, and then maybe assess what you are wanting from your yoga. So if you're wanting it because, like I'm a long distance runner and I want to do yoga because my legs get tight all the time, then maybe go to a slower, like yin yoga, stretchy class. Or if you're thinking, I want it to balance but still work me, then go to a power class. So I think ultimately, what do you want from your yoga? And then that makes you that helps you decide which class you're looking for as a beginner. Like, what do I want? And then if you didn't get what you want, keep trying.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It's
And then I feel like, again, which I don't know, but like if you've got those few people that are yoga purists, I would be remiss if I didn't point out, because I feel like there would be those people that are like, come on, point out that yoga is more than a modality. And so there's a lot to it. And I think it's absolutely okay for people to arrive at yoga for the modality, for the intentional movement. But if you are, again, a beginner, it's also important to know that maybe you're wanting the mind, if you're wanting that calm breath, mindfulness, maybe seek out a meditation class. And that is yoga still. And it kind of gets confused a little bit that maybe one of them's yoga and the other one's not.
Sure.
Again, just assessing what it is you're wanting and not forgetting that it's more than physical movement. So maybe what you're wanting is also like a breath class or meditation class.
Yeah.
So
Perfect. That's all you beginners out there. Just get your foot in the door and she'll take care of the rest. So
I got you.
Okay, so getting into the ending here. I guess you touched on some of your schooling earlier. So if right now, if you weren't doing yoga, what would you be doing?
I don't know. I mean, I got to say, I don't know. I probably would have gone back to school for nursing because that was kind of the plan when I was a CMA at Stormont Vale. I really do like the medical field, and so I likely would have gone back to school to get my RN, and so I'd probably be a nurse.
Yeah.
But while I do like the medical field, I like the, I was going to say health field, and then I felt like, well, nurses might resent that because they are also, but I mean more like physical health and wellness and mental health. And I mean, because I like, psychology, was a psychology major. And so I feel like yoga brings those things together, especially like yoga therapy. It brings it together a little bit more where we can mix the physical health and the mental health into one thing.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm a big mental health advocate. So, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's right.
Yeah. All right. So, very last topic of the day, guest choice. So, do you have anything, doesn't have to be yoga related, do you have anything you want to talk about? Like any fun upcoming trips you've got scheduled, or I don't know, any new shoes that you're buying? I don't know what. It's your choice.
Actually, I did think of something, but I have two. Can I say two things?
Sure, absolutely.
One, if it's okay, I did want to share that we have some events coming up, one of which is completely free.
Yeah.
So Evergy has allowed us again the opportunity to do splash pad yoga, Evergy splash pad.
Nice.
And we're going to do that every Tuesday at 7 p.m. It's free to attend. We did let people use some of our mats last year, which mats will hang out. You can bring your mat and you can hang it out and dry it, and it'll be just fine. But when you end up with like 5 and 6 soaking, sopping wet mats in your Dodge Caravan,
Yep.
and you've got 2 little kids, you just don't need the help making it smelly.
Yeah.
So this year we're not loaning our mats out. I do encourage you to bring your own mat. But otherwise, it's completely free, and you can do yoga in the actual splash pad, or you can set it aside and just look at other people getting, wet while they're doing yoga or something. I don't know. But it's really fun, and we're just so glad Evergy Plaza is allowing us that opportunity.
Yes.
And then we're going to partner with Onyx Wellness Cafe and Heather D. Domenico Graves, which is probably a little early to get the cat out of the bag, but because we have a meeting about it when my family and I get back from vacation. We've got a meeting, but our hope is to do, she is really wise about nutrition and a lot of things, but that's what we're going to meet about specifically, is to have like a workshop, nutrition yoga workshop together. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We love to collaborate with other businesses, and it doesn't necessarily have to be health businesses, but I've found out over the years, just like as a side thing, that I love planning events, health events and yoga events. We did yoga on the roof last year at Crosby Parking Garage, and it was super fun, and we had a great turnout.
That's
and
awesome.
So we're going to do that again in October. And but yeah, all our events will be posted on our social media and Facebook and Instagram. But anyway, I just wanted to do a quick plug about that.
Yeah.
But then the second thing, which is more to your point of the topic, is actually reading. I am dyslexic, and I thought that I would just always hate reading, even into adulthood. And I don't. It just matters, kind of like intentional movement. And that's why I keep saying it like that on purpose, because yoga doesn't have to be your movement. But if you're reaching for movement in a healthy way, like running or whatever, just make it on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so intentional reading, like not just obligatory, like, well, it's good for my brain, and I'm just like going to read. And like, I have to read this type of book for it to count. And I realized that's what I was putting myself in a really small box. Like, oh, I have to read this type of book or it doesn't count as reading. And so I'm just like, one of those adults who doesn't like to read. And my husband's a librarian. And he was like, no, he's like, you don't have to read. I'm not, but like, I'm just saying, don't put yourself in that kind of a box.
Right.
There's books out there. And so he feels that way about reading, like I feel about intentional movement. Like there's a movement, I promise you, that you can do on purpose and kind of even half-ass enjoy it. Like,
Right. Yeah.
Like I really feel
Exactly.
strongly about that, and just like get your circulation better and in general. And so he feels like that about books. He's like, no, really, like I feel strongly that every single person, dyslexic or not, can find a book that they just really like reading. And so and he was right. Don't tell him I said that.
Yeah.
But no, he knows. Because then all of a sudden I'm like buying all the books.
Yeah.
He's like, where did this come from? And so recently, but it's been nice because this is going to sound like, duh, of course, why didn't you think of that? But I realized I really like reading yoga textbooks.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And
What a small world,
cookbooks.
right?
And my headset's falling off. In a second. I know, it seems like, well, duh, Evelyn.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that would be my topic is don't give up on reading. Just find a good librarian.
Yeah.
You don't have to marry a good librarian, but you can find a good librarian.
It doesn't hurt, though, is what she's saying.
Right. So, because there were just, there was a couple of books, like, I shamefully, like, hadn't read some Thich Nhat Hanh books. And people were like, what? Aren't you, like, a yoga person? And, it turns out I actually really do like reading those books. And then another one called Bodyfulness, which is by a student of Thich Nhat Hanh's, and she does a really good job. But then some cookbooks, and they do count. And it does make you feel a little better to like just read an actual book.
Yeah.
So here I am in my full-on adulthood,
Yep.
like going, is this how everyone has been feeling this whole time about books? And I'm just not. But the good news is I got there. And
Yep, exactly. Yep. Oh, that's awesome. And social media is not a book, guys. She's talking about real
actual
books.
books with paper.
Yes.
Yeah. So because that's we have 2 kids, and I was like feeling like, I don't want to stare at my phone in front of
Yeah.
my kids so much. And it
Yeah.
happens. I'm not perfect about it, but
Yep.
sitting on my couch, they're watching Scooby-Doo, and I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, well, that's a terrible example. If I'm disinterested in what they're watching, then can't I just sit here and do something else?
Yeah.
And it was, so Michael, I was like telling him, that's how I felt. Like, gosh, I just need to, maybe I should just read a book. And I was like, kind of, and he could see, I was like, I guess I'll just like read a book or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, hold on now.
Yeah.
So he was like, you just really haven't, he's like, you're the one that brought it up. You just maybe really haven't tapped into all the books
Right.
that because I was thinking like you have to read novel type books, like for it to count. It doesn't
Right.
count unless you've read like a James Brown or,
Yes.
whatever, something like
Yep.
that. And this turns out that's not true.
Yeah. I've read a couple books on podcasts, so
There you go.
I mean,
it counts.
It counts. Yeah.
But if you're, you're interested, it still helps your brain not stare at a screen.
Yep.
And
Yep.
sets a good example for, people around you.
Yeah.
So
And you know where they got a lot of books at? The Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library,
Turns
where
out,
this
yeah.
podcast is being brought to you from. They have so much good stuff here, guys.
they
Come
do.
on down.
We had one of our, because they have us do quarterly things here at the library.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they hire us to do. And one of ours was a meditation 3-month course where
Mm-hmm.
I would find a meditation book here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would admit I didn't get time to read all of them, but I would read sections and point out parts of it. And then we would have a meditation class for 15-20 minutes. And then I would say, okay, and then this is our book, our focus book. And they have a whole section of really wonderful books
Yeah.
on meditation. I'm sure other things too, but
Oh, yeah. A little bit of everything here. So come on down to the library if you haven't been here in a while. Okay. So let's get into this trivia answer. And this is a very vague answer, like I said, because there's no like definitive.
right. Yeah.
But according to Google, I didn't get on Wikipedia
All wise
because
Google.
I don't always trust Wikipedia. So, how long has yoga been around? And this answer that I found has been, drum roll.
Yeah.
I'll put a drum roll in there.
Oh, okay. I was like, I can do it for you.
5,000 to 10,000 years ago
Okay.
is like some of the first like real documented.
So it wasn't
areas of
terribly
yoga.
far
No.
off. 2000 BCE,
No.
I think is what I said.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, yeah. And so
Because I read those books.
yeah, yep, there you go. Books do come in handy, so and it was in a lot of places say India.
India.
was that central location of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy to think about because, a lot of people think yoga nowadays and they're like, oh, that's only been around for, 50, 60 years, which I hear some people say, and it goes back a lot farther.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, it's only been popular in America probably 50, 60 years.
yeah.
But yeah, it's been popular much longer than that for
Yeah.
sure.
We're always behind the trend, guys.
Right. It'll be cool one of these days.
Yeah. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode. So thank you so much for coming on and talking about your business. And
Yeah, my pleasure.
I'm going to make it a point to get out there and do a class. And
Yeah, come join us.
I'll document it so you guys can watch me cry, trying to be flexible. So
No, you won't cry.
yeah.
We believe strongly in not making people overly flexible, so you'll be good.
Well, we'll see if I can buck the trend. Is there anything else you want to add or say?
Well,
Any last
actually, you
plugs?
make a good point, and I won't make this as long-winded, I promise. But that's probably the number one thing we get is that people say, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone will usually chime in and say, well, that's why you do yoga, is to get flexible.
Yeah.
And I'm actually here to tell you that we're actually here to try and find the happy medium.
Yeah.
What I've learned over the years strongly points to please don't overstretch yourself.
Mhm.
This is not what this is. That yoga is to help you support healthy range of motion,
Mm-hmm.
not over range of motion.
Yeah.
So please
Perfect.
don't let that be the thing that stops you. I'm not going to ask you to do the splits, or I'm in fact going to insist that you don't, unless you've been doing them for a really long time. And please don't bring your forehead to your knee.
Oh.
No, it's really not necessary.
Oof. I think I'm feeling pain already.
Right,
Just
right,
thinking
good,
about
ouch.
it. So.
Exactly.
Oh, so yeah, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll put all her contacts and website and whatever the apps are that you need to download. We'll put all that in the video description. Yeah, so thank you to all the viewers out there. Just reminding you that the video portion of this is up on YouTube. The audio portions, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.